Hello, I'm Allan Kirk, and in this short video I'm going to show you why I love working with pen and watercolour so much. I'll explain why I chose pen and watercolour, and I'll show you how I use it in my work. The first thing to say about my pen and watercolour work is that I usually start with the drawing, and I've got three guides that drive my technique. The first of those is I always start inside and work outwards. So you can see here I'm starting with the building and working outwards from there. Usually it's the focal point, and that's where I start. The second aspect that drives my technique is that I want to see lots of energy, so I work quickly. I'm not precise. I don't like ponderous straight lines. I'm not trying to be architectural. I'm working quickly, and I have a mantra, and in my head I'm saying keep the pen moving, keep the pen moving. I like to see that energy in my work. The third aspect of my drawing is drawing what I see, not what I think. And working quickly helps me do this here because I just draw quickly. It doesn't give my mind time to interfere in the drawing. So for example, to stop there and say, what shape is that window really? Or to get analytical and forensic about what I'm drawing. It's impressionism. I'm drawing quickly, and I want to get a feel for the place. I don't want to reproduce a photograph. So just to recap, I start inside, I work quickly, and I try not to think. All of my thinking is done before I start. Once my pen hits the paper, I just try to work quickly without thought. So I try to draw what I see, not what I think. If you like what I'm showing you in this video, you're in for a treat. I'd like to invite you to my free workshop titled Sketching with a Pen, Exploring Drawing Techniques. In this workshop you'll embark on a creative journey where you'll learn to sketch any subject and tell your unique story using ink and watercolour. During this event you'll discover how to transform even the most challenging subjects into stunning works of art. I'll guide you through the magic of rapid, suggestive strokes in your work. You'll master the art of working with transparent watercolour washes. To join is easy. Just click the link in the upper right corner of this video. This will direct you to the overview page, providing you with more insights into what you can expect from this enriching workshop. You can also find the link in the description below this video. Don't miss this chance to enhance your sketching abilities. We'll be glad to have you on board. I try and hold my pen very loosely, and I try always to glide across the paper. I don't want to slow down, and I don't want my pen to dig into the watercolour. You can see here that I've started inside, I work outwards, and as I do those windows there in the church, I use the pen for shade as well. So it's not strictly just a line drawing, I'll add shade where I can. This technique's very good for working outdoors as well as in the studio. It's quick, it's portable for outdoor work. I like to work outdoors, and I'm guided by what I like. So in a sense, I trust myself. I say, I like that view. I like the feel of this place that I am here, and I want to create a sketch or a piece of work that captures that feel and location. This technique is quick, it's great fun, and you feel good when you're using it. There's one big pain point that we have to overcome, and that is never worry about mistakes. There's a watercolour artist I really like, Alvaro Castañer, is worth looking up, and he says there are no mistakes, there are only meant to be's. So it's really important in this technique that you don't try and fix mistakes. It's that quirkiness and imprecision that brings life and energy and the feel of the place to your drawings. Coming towards the end of the sketch now, and just filling in some shading on some of the darker trees. We're ready for the watercolour phase now. Important aspect of the fine liner pen is it's waterproof, so when I put the watercolour on it won't move. Quickly show you my palette there, my watercolours. I fill the palette from watercolour tubes. My watercolour phase is guided again by 3 principles. First of all, I want to work in transparent washes from light to dark. So it's not like doing a jigsaw. I'm not going to do a little bit of the painting, then move down to the next bit and fill that in, and then the next bit. I work across the whole work with broad transparent washes. 3 basic washes. First wash, very, very wet mix. You can see there I'm mixing some in the palette and lots of water in the mix. Lots of water in the mix for that first wash. Quite a big brush there for this small pad. I think it's a 12 brush. So to sum up my first principle, step by step transparent washes to build up the picture across the whole work. You can see there I'm applying water across the whole work. And you don't be careful on the first wash. You don't worry about the drawing lines. You just get your basic colours on. And there, I don't think you can see, but I've dried my brush and just run it across to suggest a few clouds. Lift the bit out there. Mixed my green in the palette. It's Prussian blue and lemon yellow. Dried my brush and just lifted a bit of the green out the sky there. Now I'm putting some blue roughly where the road is, not too precise, and on top of that some cobalt violet which runs up into the bushes and the sky. So recapping, transparent washes working across the whole paper, mixing on the paper whenever we can. Just going to dry my brush there and just lift out some of the paint around the building. And then I'm going to let this first wash dry before I go in with my second wash. I use the same colours in my second wash, but I go to a smaller brush and there's more pigment in the mix. I'm mixing the building colour there, cobalt, violet, raw sienna. And with a small brush I'm taking care now of the drawing lines. See how the beautiful fine liner doesn't move. I've left the house white. It's good to have at your focal point your darkest darks and your lightest lights. A little bit of mixing on the paper there, a little bit of more raw sienna in there. I've mixed 2 greens in my palette, a light and a dark. This dark green is burnt sienna and Prussian blue, and the light green is Windsor lemon and Prussian blue. In this second wash, we're taking much more care about the drawing lines, but every time we go to the work with our brush, we connect to what's gone before to let the colours mix on the paper. Just dropping a bit of burnt sienna into those greens now. A bit more dark green there. My brushes are getting smaller now. This is a rigger brush. It's probably a number 3, but it's a small brush. And the point about a rigger is it's got very, very long bristles. And it seems to have a lot of energy and even a mind of its own. If you're doing this, you can use your own small brushes, but I like the energy a rigger brings. So it's a case of thicker pigment than we used in the first wash and connecting. There, drop a bit of cobalt violet in. Let the watercolour paper, the water and the pigment do the work for you on the paper. Certainly we won't touch the sky again, and probably not that field that's just below the buildings. It's important to remember that when you go back to get a colour to mix in, that even though it's basically green, that we mix lots of colours in. And we let the paper and the water and the pigment do it for us. When you use watercolour like this, you've got to accept that you are not in control. You're passing control to the paint, the paper and the water. Remember in the drawing we said there are no such things as mistakes. It's also true in this watercolour phase. Never try and stop and fix things. If there is any remedial work to do, do it at the end. Never make judgments as you go along. Just work quickly, keeping your mind out of it. Connecting, dropping in the watercolours. Getting close to the end of this second wash, I would think. And we will let the second wash dry before we go on to the third wash. You will find that when it's dry, it dries back much lighter, but don't worry about that. In our third wash, we're going to use even stronger pigment and smaller brushes again. This is a number 2 rigger. And then I've got some burnt sienna and cad orange mix. Here I've got some dark green, and that'll be burnt sienna and Prussian blue. And for an even darker green, you could put burnt sienna with burnt umber. Just bring in those dark trees and some shade at the bottom of the bushes. Now again, we're still connecting and still mixing a little bit of the light green there just to mix it. You get the light in a painting when you paint the dark. That's a dark green that's Prussian blue and raw sienna. Again, my dark green of Prussian blue and burnt sienna. Mixing, connecting, mixing on the paper. Bit of the raw sienna Prussian blue mix in there as well, and then a bit more dark. Always letting them connect to what's already there so that they will work together. These final touches in the third wash. Beautiful, beautiful way that they mix together on the paper. Forgot that roof on that lean-to at the side of the church. It's a really, really kind of spectacular group of buildings on a hill at Montier. A little bit of cad orange in the church roof. A little bit of French ultramarine blue on the shutters on that white house. Now a bit of dark round the building makes it pop out. This building's in my home village, and I've lived here permanently since 2008, and I've worked on this view many, many times. It's lovely. Bit of tissue there if I think I've put a bit too much on. dark bits. And there we have our finished sketch of the group of buildings on the hill at Montier in southwest France.